And here's Arlington bulbs. Scouting among buildings in a sharp wind along the edges of rough weather, where do concrete or bricks trap heat? Knife edge of sunlight, glint of mica in granite, and there they are. Like tiny flags in a kingdom's colors, purple, golden, white crocuses. They need only once somebody sunk them in earth, parent near a playground, student who brought some back with groceries, a person who since moved or died or stays inside now. Crammed in any patch of scrubby grass, they'll grow even if their corms are dug in upside down. They've been here all along, inevitable buried light. Hi, so I'm Kathy Desjardins, and I'm going to read you a poem called Arlington Homestead, Arriving at April. It is from this very nice collection called The Silver Note, which was put together by some very diligent people in Arlington, and it's all Arlington poets. Arlington Homestead, Arriving at April. They should have bought a farm, our neighbor tells his wife. We have only a house lot, where I've smothered the lawn to plant beans, peppers, greens when summer finally comes. Prayer flags lift in the wind, wind-beaten white and thin. Under winter's blank tablet of soil, bulbs, corms, tubers dream. Then, in April, nubs bloom into a lake on the lawn. A tide of blue scilla laps at the sidewalk. Violet blue so strong it clears our clouded eyes. Where, under the litter of skeletal sticks and curled leaves, does pale chartreuse poke through? Here, yes, spikes of peas burst the damp earth. Everywhere on the street now, the small traffic of birds, sparrows flap in the bird bath, comical shimmy and dunk before they fly up to dry soused on the trellis in the dirt patch by the back porch. Salt scaly creatures rear up. Oh, celebrate asparagus. The last poem is called What Happens. By August, the sunflowers I meant to uproot, sprouted from last year's birdseed, are 9 feet tall, shading small eggplants and peppers, stunting nasturtiums to doll-sized blooms. Summer blossoms have exploded and gone. But in fall, these flowers tower over us, lemon, mahogany, gold. Bees drag side bags of yellow pollen to their furred centers. Iridescent wasps vibrate among them. A few heads dangle limp, mandala centers hardening to cardboard kernels, nimbus of stiff green exclamation marks surrounding them. If squirrels don't come to bend and break the stems and snap the studded seeds, then birds will come for them all winter, finches and chickadees, riding the hollow stalks like hobby horses, gray juncos flirting white tails and foraging what's fallen, and we'll look up and out our frost-starred windows.
This one, well, the speaker is Lucky, the name, and Lucky is a dog. Lucky. It is winter in Arlington. Snowbanks high as the fence, glacial melts and refreezes. They make the sidewalks slick. I'm on my night walk with my master or owner. Truly offensive words from the human sphere no one should ever use. I just say he's a good guy, a Democrat, and an animal advocate, so we get along. But as I look up and down the path, a million sense receptors smell more than I can say. My thick chest and layered coat keep me warm enough, so I mosey along, nosing at this and that, the debris of life ahead of us. The trail of those we share time and space with. But now, I hear what sounds like pain or suffering coming from the blue TV rooms. I see shadows on the blinds, handprints on the door, hear doors slammed shut, and I know that a something has gone terribly wrong with these people, these upright creatures not made to see or listen. I do what I can. I pull back on the leash, am stubborn, but my friend hauls me away, and I go. I intend to warn him about what I call the looming. It's the way clouds gather for a storm. For this one, there is nothing I can directly point to, just the dread I feel. I know in my bones that harm is coming. It is a heavy, nameless emptiness that will crush us. All I can do is bark and growl, bare my teeth, shake the brass medallion etched with my name. Lucky. The second poem in The Silver Note is called Sundowning, and it's set at Menotomy Rocks Park. And if you know Arlington, you know Menotomy Rocks Park and how exquisite a little pond and hillside rocks that are boulders as well as pines and oak trees. It's a real unbelievably supportive place to go. Get your thoughts together. Sundowning, you may know, has a kind of history in medical terms to it. At a certain point in an illness, you tend to sort of get agitated at the end of the day. It's not exactly agitation, this poem. It's actually counter-agitation. It's being helped out, you'll hear, by the natural world of the Menotomy Rocks Park. Sundowning. We sit on a weathered bench and watch the dogs lead their masters down the trail beside us. My love is susceptible to falls, so we don't go far. Here we meet Phoebe, a yellow lab of dignified middle age, wondering what we are doing just sitting, neither petting nor walking on ahead. She hovers around our legs, but the longer she stays, the more I think Phoebe, from a long time among the humans, knows something is off kilter. Has the dog picked up a troubled scent in the forest of nerves? A thwarting in the brain that no longer governs the body, either in gait or balance? Often, when she turns or reaches behind her, her feet do not follow. They will freeze. Then the body will lean, tip over, and end up sprawled across the path. In the sad quiet of this moment, this dog has decided to stay with us for a while. So too, the unseen birds, a chorus singing about the many things to fear. How the light will disappear, darkness settle over the land. I see the flash of a cardinal, hear its familiar three-note song as the sun slips down to a sliver of light. I think of how small that bird is, all the food it needs just to sing. Oh, Lord, have pity on the worm that gets lost and finds itself up on the surface with us Hello, my name is Fred Marchant, and I'm a proud citizen of Arlington, Massachusetts, and I am really honored to be invited to participate in Juliana Luong's beautiful project of combining poetry and visual representations of places in Arlington. It put me in mind of a very important concept in poetry of our time, the idea of a poetry of place. And it comes out of the sense that places sometimes shape us as much as we shape them. And so to sense that dynamic of how place really does have a role in our inner lives as much as our external lives, that really is a beautiful idea for a film combining poetry and visuals. So I'm going to read 3 poems, and they're all set in Arlington, and they're all in my manuscript in progress. But 2 of them were published in this wonderful anthology, The Silver Note, of poems about Arlington, edited by Arlington poets, I might add. And, um, and so I'll begin with those. These 2 poems have a particular context that I need to describe briefly. My wife of many, many years has Parkinson's, and so she's been through a lot of different kinds of phases of that illness, and one of them involved a stay at the assisted living place up on the hill called Brightview, where it used to be a hospital up there. I forget the hospital's name, but it really is a bright view down over all of Arlington, and from their various patios. And she was recovering from a hip surgery when she was there. And she also was borrowing my cell phone to take pictures of the clouds, of the hillsides, and so forth. And so one day, windy day, she really was fascinated by the clouds moving across the sky. And this poem is called Welkin Scud. These are both pretty old-fashioned words. Welkin means the heavens, and Scud means zipping along. And this is called Welkin Scud. On a photo taken from a wheelchair at Brightview Assisted Living. Welkin Scud. You wheeled yourself to the end of the porch to take a photo of clouds flying off into the east. Every one of them was its own being, you said. They were turning into mountains of snow. Flying across the sky, these beings, unbound, free, and shape-shifting. They were scudding on the edge of a wave of wind, giving them maybe only a minute or 2 to live.
This poem is called Monotony, and I named it after Arlington originally was called Monotony. Monotony. There is a thrum in the air, a hot heat, because maybe it's July, but maybe also the concrete resounds. That time I kissed her on Mass Ave and Pleasant Street, then whispered Banksy into her ear. Said it just like the painting said, I remember when all of this was trees. To think of what it looked like then instead of this bank. Farms for miles, nothing else but a lone house. Black Horse Tavern, cornfield, a group of pigs, and that one night in April when Paul Revere went clamoring by. I don't know how we found this place, but we did it together. What was once only maple, cedar, pine, and juniper is now neighborhoods. Families packed in, and roads upon roads cloaking a revolution. pink moon. It happened so fast, I didn't see it. Suddenly, the dogwood is full bloom. I kneel and weep before it. This flower on a tree opens pink and white and smells like a kind of rancid beginning. And each spring, I am raw and undone by it. This in-breath fulfills some thawing piece of me, opens memories. My childhood dog runs to me in the backyard where she is buried now, under a different dogwood. Should I drive to see her? Of course, I'm supposed to be working, and of course I am not. Only here, counting syllables. This is to say, hidden work is everywhere. This poem is called Wolf Moon, and it's a part of a series that I am writing about the full moons. There's a word in this poem, the word Wetu, which is the Wampanoag word for home. And the Wampanoag are one of the Indian tribes of Massachusetts. Wolf Moon. The whole universe sings, and each month is a message. The perched hawk on a branch this morning, does it feel the cold like I do as I walk my dog in a corner of the yard? Both Luna and I coil into ourselves, and I think of the wolves that came before her. Packs of them enduring this freeze together. Might it not have been the wolves' howl, but the stiff wind as it echoes against the Wetu? The season emits a sound if we are ready to hear it. January is a deep, cold rush and a renewal, too. A charge to rethink each path, the choice to start again.
Mocking your son's grave at Kilnaboy. At the burn, we search for the right stone, thin, even in shape, upright. We scoop small stones into buckets, lug them through thick green grass to the toppled Celtic cross where your son is buried. We are on a mission of regret, and we toil in the rare sun-filled afternoon while the village prays the Mass at St. Joseph's. We are in silent prayer. You wonder if in some way you could have prevented his death. I stand aside. Your son is safe now. He has his own nameless marker under the Celtic cross. We write it today. A Passion for Numbers, for Ada Lovelace. Lying on my back, I count the stars and constellations by twos, count the numbers like words and beat to measure. I'll play any game to learn from Charles Babbage, inventor. I translate his numbers, interpret his language. He christens the first computing machine Ada, and I have come to understand the language of two. The life of stones and rocks near the burn. I walk on flat stones. The crevices and cracks in the rock go deep into the ground. It looks like miles down. The stones are old and lined from being tossed about by glaciers that moved them here. Still not a whisper, just the silence. The quiet gives me time to lower the voice in my head, to accept the passage of time, the losses of those who lie among the berry. Miracles are born here among the purple, white, wild orchids, protected by massive gray stones. Nearby, the ground is covered with white shale.
My name is Jessie Brown, and I'm going to read a poem called If You Wake. If you wake to morning after morning, with or without sun, eyes open, lungs rising and falling, no matter what you intend or fail at, the seasons settled like ice into the room you wake in. If you can throw back covers, feel the warm and cool of the folds, rub the small grit from your eyes, presume the nerves will keep firing, today at least. Presume someone or something still can use you, your work or words or breath. Presume the world's not done with you. Presume you too belong. I'm Jessie Brown, and I'm going to be reading a poem called Never. She can never, never be happy now, our daughter says, because we let the mouse go. Under the pines at the park while she was at school. Didn't we know she was going to tame it in a cardboard box? Feed it saltine crumbs? Now everything's ruined. She can't hush, she can't calm down. What if it had babies? They'll be freezing down in the basement with no mother to return. They'll be waiting and waiting and waiting. We've ruined everything. She can never love us again. Gray shuddering back, white paws, bright eye. Jessie Brown, Why I Miss the Lost Trees. Because I could stand under one when it rained, because their leaves left ghost prints on the sidewalk, because I had no brothers or sisters. Because bark swells and splits and bandages itself, because each branch holds the whole form, because trees grow taller than houses. Because they hold the tumbling hillsides back, because buds swell even in winter, because they're older than we are, because they have witnessed all our transgressions, because the trees can't do anything but welcome us anyway. I'm Jessie Brown, and I'm going to be reading a poem called Never. She can never, never be happy now, our daughter says, because we let the mouse go. Under the pines at the park while she was at school. Didn't we know she was going to tame it in a cardboard box? Feed it saltine crumbs? Now everything's ruined. She can't hush, she can't calm down. What if it had babies? They'll be freezing down in the basement with no mother to return. They'll be waiting and waiting and waiting. We've ruined everything. She can never love us again. Gray shuddering back, white paws, bright eye.
Noontime. At noon, the church bells roll a hymn across our roofs. Mrs. the B-flat minor, my neighbor complains, although I can't hear the notes she hears. I cried in my childhood pew when I heard that hymn. I know she's in her studio inking monoprints. My husband walks the dog. I close my notebook for the day. What were those tears for? Who for? I discovered God plays favorites, like teachers and coaches, like parents. O Lord my God, the hymn tolls to shoppers at Whole Foods across the street as they strip the shelves of paper goods. When I, in awesome wonder, my neighbor prints her latest image of the church tower as scaffolding without bricks. She's afraid to leave her house. Low immunity, bad lungs. She says printmaking keeps the wolves away. Were my tears a clue to who I am now? Wary, vigilant, a blackbird. Last night I snapped the sun as it set behind the steeple. Gold light on the bronze bell. A wing appeared in the picture, but not the whole bird. My name is Teresa Cater, and I'll be reading 3 poems that are set in Arlington. The Battle of Monotony. When I saunter to the mailbox in miserable sun, a woman stares at the stone marker by my fence. Sight of the house of John Cutter, set on fire during the British retreat of April 19th, 1775. Dogs piss on it. A traffic box cautions walkers at the crosswalk. Wait, wait, wait. Ambushed by 4,000 militia, the Brits torched houses and barns during the day's bloodiest fight. Royal bayonets gutting Jason and his friends at the Jason Russell House across the street. In 3rd grade, I fell in love with glossy books about the founding fathers, the women in bonnets churning butter in barrels, that righteous hunger. What did I know of myths and facts? The Russells and their kind owned servants, some diaries say. Now our town fights over low-income housing. Jazz on the Russell House lawn, pop-up beer gardens and tents, the annual battle reenactments. Nearby, in the old burying ground, unmarked graves of redcoats and the enslaved. Where is Kate, owned by the Russells? Rose and Venus by the Cutlers. Underground radar might locate bones the way it finds water and sewer pipes. Black soldiers battled here. Ishmael, Cato, Cuff. I opened the hot mailbox to my gas bill, Viking travel, and the ACLU needing my vote. A fall leaf drops. Urban River Run. Who hears the fishes when they cry? Thoreau asked. After paddling the Concord and Merrimack for 2 weeks with his brother John, years before his cabin and beans, before he accidentally set the woods on fire. He woke to sunrise on the water, rippling his canoe in light soft as a ripe peach. Pushed off into cold water, rinsing him of Concord's orderly prosperity. Nothing but the lure of what he didn't know ahead of him, what he would see that would change him. Immigrants from the Pilgrims onward lived on river herring, shad, salmon. Silver running, they called the spring herring migrations, so abundant they colored the rivers. Fish swarming inland from the Atlantic, back to their home rivers to spawn, then back to the sea. Instead, Henry saw few of the fish of his childhood, their paths trapped behind dams, thinned out and ghostly, an ancient food chain vanishing beneath his paddle. Henry and John called for the good men of Sudbury, Wayland, and Concord to take a crowbar to the Billerica Dam. Then Henry went to the woods to write about river fish. At the Mystic Dam, my husband and I stand on metal grates, looking down into a fish ladder, portal for alewife river herring, trying to reach the upper lake where seagulls loop and dive. A woman plays guitar and sings. A man and boy kneel to count herring with us, but the fish hide today. The river is warming. Their time to get here is shortening, and I can't stay in the heat. A volunteer holds a chart, 590,000 so far this census. Before the fish ladder, we hauled them up in buckets, at least 19,000 one year, the river brigades. Henry and John, I can see you out here, pails in hand. Our guide points out a skinny runway for American eels. They land in a small metal box after wriggling up. The box is empty, but she notes 13,200 eels in 2013. They swam 1,000 miles from the Sargasso Sea to mature here. Dad would have loved this, would have hauled buckets at 90, been furious at the pollution. Emma's favorite sushi is Japanese eel. In Kyoto, she ate it for breakfast with seaweed and raw eggs. She sends me pictures of eel plates at dinners in Gifu City, where cormorants tethered to rods catch fish for tourists. My daughter would be a fish counter if she were here. At home, I watch videos of the fish via underwater cameras. While I rest my swollen ankle on the ottoman, they sleep-tail it upstream nearby, next to roads jammed with traffic. Become a counter now, the screen reads, in your own home. Help save our water. I've counted 32 in 10 seconds. I record what I've seen. I tighten the Velcro snaps on my tribute wrap, invented in Amsterdam, its internal ribs a ladder, lifting my stubborn lymph from ankle to knee. And suddenly, I think I see 5 American eels slither by, grayish-green and hard to spot. But no, this is rivergrass. No one has seen them spawn in the Sargasso Sea. No one is sure how they find their way to American rivers. But more eels will land in the metal box, and someone will ease them into the upper Mystic Lake, where bass, cormorants, and gulls will hunt them, where black-crowned night herons can eat them close to shore. I remember the eels my father caught in New Jersey and cooked on the grill, slimy and curved like pool noodles. I can barely look at Emma's plate when she eats eel, even in their glassy young stage of life. The Chinese catch them to sell to the Japanese. If Dad were here, he'd try to save this river. Henry addressed the river fish. Keep a stiff fin then, and stem all the tides thou mayest meet. When I worry about my daughters far from home, I can count fish at my river. When I worry about my foot swelling in the heat, I can count fish in my living room. When the stink of traffic and gas leaks on Mass Avenue makes me long for the ocean, I can go to the Mystic Lakes and watch a blue heron. I can uproot Oriental bittersweet. I can prepare for the run back to the sea.
"6 in the Morning" by Thomas DeFreitas, from the Kelsey Books release Winter in Halifax. 6 in the morning, February, coffee. I stand at the cold porch door and look out on the brooding sapphire of the fordawn sky, pregnant with deep blue light that pales and shines toward the horizon, where the tops of trees, like scriptures in an inscrutable alphabet, imprint themselves on the margins of the day. Stones in the neighboring graveyard begin to whiten and become distinct. Traffic percolates through nearby streets. Sparrows sing crisp matins in the chill. There is a gentle splendor in these hours before the sun blares and commuters rush, before St. Agnes bells ring Angelus. Yesterday marked the first day in a week I did not see your face or hear your voice. Arlington by Thomas DeFreitas, from the self-published chapbook Bravissima. Let's wander, get lost, go astray in Arlington. Come on, we'll dally, linger, stay in Arlington. Strangers here are friendly, friends are strange, peace permeates each day in Arlington. There's no such thing as road rage or bar brawls. Very few folks get carried away in Arlington. I say hi to the neighbors, to Spy Pond joggers, to Mass Ave sparrows, cheerful, gay in Arlington. Nero's becoming a favorite spot of mine, and the Kickstand, cool cafe in Arlington. Did I spot Retke at Monotony Rocks? Let seed be grass and grass be hay in Arlington. Selectmen meet each Tuesday at Town Hall. Citizens get to have their say in Arlington. Of course, there are 10,000 parking meters. If you park too long, expect to pay in Arlington. Tommy, old boy, this poem's for the birds. Sing it to robin, finch, blue jay in Arlington. Blessed Space by Thomas DeFreitas, from the Kelsey Books publication Walking Between the Raindrops. In this blessed space, narrow brick-paved lane behind First Unitarian, I walk with you. In this blessed space, table for two at the kickstand, I sit with you and we laugh. In this blessed space where squirrels scamper toward leaves of preternatural green underneath a blossom-birthing sun, I sing to you in my old ham voice that cracks on the high notes. In this blessed space, we repair the havoc of demagogues by keeping silence. As we sit together, waters of gratitude surge above the heart brim. In this blessed space, room of light and art and books and music, you are the host, I am the guest. Vespers by Thomas DeFreitas, from the Kelsey Books publication walking between the raindrops. Cook's Hollow is my book of common prayer, its gnarled and skimp-leaved trees my psalmody, the mirthy burble of the old mill brook, a litany of grace and gratitude. Forsythia sings its yellow alleluia to robin, blue jay, oriole, and sparrow. And Let Us Pray urges the splashless glide of green-necked mallards as they paddle past. This meager strip of nature snagged between police headquarters and the Eversource plant, my chapel in plein air, where I can sweep brain haze and cobwebs, nettles from my head, rest for a spell, and watch the ribbon of water whiten as it twists and rushes by.